All right, class. First off, as always, good day. I'm glad you're here. So, today we're going to be looking at the second half of Article 1 of the Constitution, which talks about Congress and their powers and stuff. Okay. So, the objective we're going to analyze Article 1, sections 5 through 10. We're going to finish off the whole thing with the power of Congress and the things they get away with and things like that. We're examining the special circumstances where a congressman or woman can actually get away with the crime. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. And we're going to create an argument about the ex post facto laws. Actually, we're going to discuss it first and then we'll probably get to that question. Okay. So here is your warm up picture. Now, um, if you look at the little newspaper thing the guy's reading, you'll notice it says something is now legal, right? Um, Judging from the outfit he's wearing, you could probably take a wild guess where he's at. And more than likely, chances are you can conclude what he may be charged, maybe found guilty of. Okay. Now, if you look at the background, you'll see a lot of the numbers and things like that. So that might indicate something about that person in a certain place. Okay. So the question is asking you, what do you think this artist is trying to say? Okay. So again, look at the newspaper, look at more or less where that guy's at. And the odds are really, really good. The reason why he's locked up is because of what's on the newspaper. Whether it's using, possession, transporting, whatever may be, you know. Um, so yeah. So what do you think this artist is trying to say? So add all this stuff up, um, and come to a conclusion. What do you think they're trying to say? And again, look at the newspaper, what it says. That will really help you out. Okay. So think about it, write your response, because we're moving on in three, two, one. All right. So Section 5 of Article 1 in the Constitution says in the case in the elections where there's some type of confusion, the House and the Senate decide. Now, this actually happened in the year 2000 with Bush and Gore. Basically, in the state of Florida, they had this unique ticket where you had to punch a hole where you next to the name of the candidate you wanted. And the thing is, both these candidates were right next to each other, one on this side and one on this side. And a lot of, I don't know if you know this, a lot of old people live in Florida and they don't have good eyes. They don't have that much strength. So when these old people were voting, some of them didn't punch a hole all the way through. And some of them claimed, well, I meant to vote for this guy and the holes confused me. So I thought I was voting for this guy, but I ended up voting for this guy. And there's a whole debacle that happened because of this. Now, the elections happened in early November. They didn't come to a conclusion until December, like near the end of December. Um, and the thing is, they basically the president's first day is January 20th. So yeah, they were like, we need to hurry up and come to a conclusion. Like, who's the president? And they finally did choose, and they chose Bush. Okay. Now, in Congress, in order for a meeting to officially take place in either house, at least half the people have to be there. Okay. So in the Senate, there are 100 seats. Okay. Remember, 50 states, and each state gets two senators. So that's 100 senators. So 50 have to be in the House for the meeting to officially, be counted. In the House of Representatives, there's 435 seats. So that means roughly 200, like 220 people have to be there um, in order for the meaning to be kind of official. Okay. Now, if they want to kick somebody out of Congress and so that, they need 2/3 majority. Okay. And that takes a lot of effort. Okay. Now, Section 6 basically says that their salaries are set by law. But here's the kicker: who writes the laws? Congress does. So they basically set up their own um, salary. So sometimes they will meet and they'll be like, oh, the price of living is so high, we need a raise. And that's like one of the very few times that like every member of Congress will agree, is when they get a pay raise. So here's the thing though, because of the 27th Amendment, they have to wait until they get reelected in order to get um, the raise. So the House of Representative people, again, they're every 2 years, right? So their wait won't be that long, and if if they don't get reelected, they don't get the raise. Okay. Um, Now for the Senate, remember they're 6 years. So if somebody's in their first year and all of a sudden they decide to have a pay raise, that person has to wait all the way until the next election for them, which is 5 years. And then if they get reelected, they get a pay raise. But if they don't get reelected, that new person gets the pay raise. So like I said in class, imagine you're working so hard, you're fighting so that you can get a higher pay raise at your job, and then they let you go and say, well, the next guy coming in, he gets a pay raise. You'd be upset. And that's how some congressmen feel. Yeah. Now, under Section 6 as well, it says anything said in Congress can't be used against these people in court. So let's just say there's an argument about making marijuana federally legal. Okay. Now, the thing is, if let's say a congressman in their state marijuana is illegal, and yet on the debate floor they say, I think nationally marijuana should be legal. I smoke it in my house and you know where I live, and I do have these parties and so that. The thing is, if somebody in his state says, oh, he smokes marijuana and at his house, and that's in our state where it's illegal, they can't use that against him in court because he said that during a session of Congress. But that's also too why when the re-elections come up and some of that, these politicians will use what they say against them because granted it's not in court, but they get that out there so people talk about it and know, oh, that person said this, that person said that during Congress. So yeah, it may protect you from the law from being punished, but it might hurt your reelection chances. Okay. Excuse me. The next one is pretty interesting to me. It says that they cannot be arrested for a minor charge. But the thing is, there has to be a meeting going on, or they're being called for a vote. Okay. So, yes, like I said in class, if a senator was driving, speeding, running red lights, and a cop pulled him over, if he tells the officer, "Hey, look, officer, they're calling for a vote. I gotta go." You know, the cop has to let him go because again, they get away with minor crimes. Uh, a student asked me some years ago, could a senator like skip a dinner? Like not pay the bill? Technically, kind of, yeah, they can, because that is a minor crime. To dash and dine, it's not a major crime. It's a small petty crime. So yeah, it probably wouldn't look good on for them. Hey, the center ate and left. You know, um, but technically, yeah, they could. The only thing they can't get away with is major crimes. So they can't like run somebody over. They can't be like knocking down, driving recklessly, going through the sidewalk and the roads and some of that. No, none of that stuff. Okay. Um, But minor crimes, yeah, they can get away with it. And they can't have any other government job. So they can't be a senator, and in their home state, your hometown, they can't be the mailman too. Not going to work. Now, Section 7 says the House of Representatives is the only place where tax bills can be passed. So that's why these guys are reelected every 2 years, because they didn't want these guys to be like, oh, let's raise taxes and stuff. And the people not be able to say, you know what, we're done with you. You're out. You know, again, people will pay taxes when they have to. They won't like it, but if it helps schools, it helps, veterans, things like that, fixes roads, yeah, people could say, okay, at least I know it's going somewhere, but just to pay them, no, no, people don't like that. Okay. And again, if a senator or a House Representative member keeps putting on tax bills after tax bills, chances are they're not going to get reelected. Now, also in Section 7, it says how a bill becomes a law. Now, both houses, representatives and the Senate, have to pass the same bill. It cannot be different in any which way. It has to be exact. Even every period, everything has to be exact. But if they get it passed by a simple majority, which is 51%, then it goes to the president. Okay. Now the president has some options. One, they sign it and then it becomes law. Two, they wait 10 days, don't sign it, and then it automatically becomes law. Okay. Or three, veto it. Okay. Now, going back to the 10 days really quickly, some politicians have tried this stuff before where like a president goes to like China or Europe for like a G8 summit or peace negotiation summit type of thing. And they pass it right there and then when the president's already on the plane, and they say you got 10 days to sign this when they know the president's going to be gone for like maybe 5 days, you know. So politics is politics. When it comes to the veto, the president can say I don't like this law and give it back to Congress. Now, just because he vetoes it doesn't mean the bill is dead. Okay. Congress has a chance to override the president, but they need 2/3 majority in both houses. Okay. Um, Nothing less. It has to be 2/3. Now, here's the thing, if they get the bill back from the president and someone decides, you know what, let me add a little something, let me change this, even if it's just putting in a new period, technically that's a new bill. That's a new bill. And then when they give it to the president, he gets another veto because that's a new bill. It wasn't the same one, the exact same one that he got last time. They made a change to it, they altered it. Okay. Um, But if it's not altered in any which way, it's the same bill, they get 2/3 majority, then the bill becomes law and the president can't do anything about it. Okay. Now, Section 8 says this is with the powers of Congress. Basically, they establish and maintain the Army and Navy. So that means they're the ones who they decide we need a new boat, we need to get Kevlar outfit for our soldiers. They decide that, not the president. So when people say things about like, oh, why don't they give their soldiers better equipment and this and that, blah, 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 it's not the president, it's Congress. The president tells the military where to go and stuff like that, but they don't pay for the tanks. They don't, pay for the planes and the the equipment that our soldiers get. That's Congress. Okay. So again, this is what I mean. People will say stuff like this on TikTok and things like that. Say stuff so boldly, like they know what they're talking about. As you can see, no, they're wrong. And again, you can look this up yourself, and I would highly encourage you to do that. Look it up on the Constitution, Article 1, Section 8. Bam, it's right there. Okay. Um, Create post offices and courts, both federal and state. They do that. Regulate commerce, trade between states. They declare war on a country, not the president. Now, the president can ask Congress for a declaration of war. It's been done before, and yeah, okay. But the president doesn't do that. Same thing with the treaties, which we'll talk about um, later on. Congress has the power to accept treaties or not the president. The president can draw them up and things like that, discuss them. But when it comes to actually saying, let's go to war or let's have peace, that's Congress's job, not the president. But again, like I said, people tend to blame the president. Um, Same thing with the next thing. They run the debt. Again, they control the money. So when people say, "Oh, this president, oh my gosh, look at our debt. Oh, the president's so horrible. Look at our debt. Look how big it is." Again, guys, the president isn't solely to blame on the debt. That is mainly Congress. Okay? And this is exactly what I mean. And I'm sure you've heard it. People saying that kind of stuff. But again, they don't know. That's why I'm teaching this to you guys, so you do know, and that way you can see when they're these videos, you'll know that person doesn't know what they're talking about. That person is full of crap. And then whenever you see their videos, you can disregard it for the most part and say they don't know what they're talking about. So why listen to them? Okay. The last one says that Congress can pass any laws necessary for them to carry out their jobs. Like basically, what if there's something that's stopping them from being able to supply the army, supply the navy, they can then make a law that says we, the Congress, get to do this, we can do that, okay, because it is necessary for them to do their job. So Section 9, the first part doesn't really apply anymore. It says that Congress is limited on their ability to regulate the slave trade. We don't have the slave trade anymore. That was taken out because of the 13th Amendment, and thank goodness. But the thing is, it's still there. Okay. Also, Congress cannot suspend the writ of habeas corpus. Now, if you've never heard that before, um, this is what it is. When someone gets arrested and they're brought before the judge, and the judge says, "How do you plead?" and they say innocent or guilty, and they talk about bail, that is the writ of habeas corpus. You have a chance to be seen in court, be heard, um, asked about your plea, and have a chance to get out while your um, court session is basically going to be set up. Okay. Now the thing is, like I said in class, just a couple of classes, if this ever happens to you, you're ever in court, or somebody you care about is ever in court, and they ask, "How do you plead?" Just say innocent or guilty. Don't be saying trying to make excuses about your court, your case, and this and that. The judge is simply asking you, innocent or guilty. What is it? And that whole I'm a sovereign citizen. So, oh gosh, guys, that just ticks off the judge even more. Okay, just say innocent or guilty, no contest. Whatever your lawyer suggests you say, go with that. Okay. Um, Next thing is they can't pass bills of attainder laws, meaning they can't pass laws that are specifically aimed at punishing certain individuals. Okay, they can't pass laws that aim attack you because of your um, race, your beliefs, your political affiliation, things like that. They cannot pass laws like that. If they're going to pass a law, it has to be pertain to anyone. So, like, if they say no smoking at all, you know, the law says no smoking for everyone. It doesn't say, oh, if you're a white man, a black man, or if you're a woman, a male, you live on the East Coast, West Coast. It doesn't say any of that stuff. It just says everyone, no smoking. Okay, that's how the law's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be aiming at particular people. Next thing is they can't pass ex post facto laws. Now, what does that mean? It basically means you can't be charged for a crime if it wasn't a crime at the time. So let's say, hypothetically, that um, marijuana. Let's say today it's legal, tomorrow it's illegal. The cops can't arrest you today for smoking it, and then later on trial, which will be months later, they say, "Oh well, yeah, I caught him smoking." Well, but yeah, but when you caught me, it was still legal. Now that it's in the future, right? Now it's illegal, right? They can't do that because it's by what happened at the time. Same thing in reverse. If something is illegal and all of a sudden becomes legal, if they catch you like the day before or anytime before that, right? And they arrest you now because the thing is legal, it doesn't mean that you're forgiven of your crime. No, no, no. When you committed that crime, it was still illegal. Okay, so you have to finish off your sentence. Just because now it's legal doesn't mean you get off scot free. So that warm up, that's exactly what it was talking about. It's like, yeah, that person was probably charged with, you know, drug use, drug possession, some of that, marijuana use. Um, but the thing is, when they were caught, it was illegal. And then you saw in the paper on the warm up, now that it's legal doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean that they get out of jail. No, they still legally have to serve the rest of their time. Okay. No direct taxes unless those taxes are proportional to the population of the state and must be adjusted. Okay, so again, because a state has a small population, they can't be, taxed huge amounts of money, so that compared to a state that's huge population and they get taxed the same. No. Okay. Excuse me. They can't pass laws that favor one part of the country over another. Again, they can't pass laws saying New York people can get away with this, this, and this, and this. People on the West Coast can't do this, 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 this. They can't do that. Okay. This is another big one too that a lot of students tend to. I don't know if you heard things in your lifetime or people told you things, on TikTok, stuff like that. But congressmen, they do not put money in their pockets. Like if they're taxing us, they don't take that money and put it in their pockets. No, no. If there's one thing our government is fantabulous about, it's keeping track of the dollars. And everything is accounted for. Now, I did have a student in class ask me, well, how do these senators and congressmen and all these people, how do they get, rich? How do they get corrupt? Well, it's kind of like this. If one of them has a committee, right, to let's say build a new highway, new stretch of highway road, they might have a friend or a buddy or whatever who does that type of thing. They may, say, hey, yeah, we'll hire you, and pay them whatever, the job is. Sometimes they'll kick it up the numbers. Um, and this is where sometimes those guys will then get a kickback, or they'll pay for that senator, congressman, pay for them to go somewhere, pay on vacation, whatever. Um, so yeah, that's how they do it. But again, just straight taking money from the government, like your tax money, so that no, all that's accounted for. Okay. Another thing is, senator, congressmen, some of that they can't be made nobles. You know, they can't be knighted by the kings and queens and some of that. That's not allowed. All right. Now, the last one, Section 10, basically says it talks about states that states can't make their own money. We tried that back in the early years of our country, and it was a complete failure. It really hurt our country. Um, because then comes the like Articles of Confederation, and then comes Alexander Hamilton with his plan to absorb debt, but you have to get rid of the state dollars and accept the national dollar. Yeah, that's the only thing that really saved us. But yeah, state dollars, horrible idea. States can't declare war. They can't be like, oh, we don't like what's happening in Korea. We're going to go to war with them. What army? The state can't have an army, can't have a navy, things like that. So yeah, no. Okay. So basically, they can't do anything Congress can do. Okay. They can't declare war. They can't, set up a peace treaty. You know, form an alliance with another country. No, none of that stuff. Okay. And they can't put imports or export taxes on goods because the federal government has already done that. So they can't. Okay? So here is my question to you. Which of the two do you think is the biggest perk to being a senator or a House of Representative member? Having to only meet at least once a year. So remember, technically, they only have to show up for their job one time a year, one meeting. That's it. Or the fact that they are able to get away with minor crimes when there's a meeting or a vote. So between those two perks, which one do you feel is the best one? Which one do you think, like, man, I wish I had that one for my job? You know, which one and why? Don't forget the why. Explain why you think that one is a better perk than the other one. Okay. So think about it. Write your response. Once you finish, that's it. We're done with this lesson. So hopefully you learned something new. Hopefully you enjoyed this lesson. All right. So with that being said, guys, you take care, you be safe, and I'll see you guys later.